The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
I have to ask you, I know you've been doing back-to-back interviews since the press conference took place, but I'm not seeing a major splash in the national media. What types of media are interested? Is it people like me, people with internet radio shows, internet blogs? Is that where the buzz is happening on this?
Yeah, I get local. It's not positive, all of it. They came in there to just hope that I made a fool of myself, which did not happen. I like to think. I think we acted. Mike Zullo and I acted very professional in that press conference. The reason I had a press conference, I promised the Tea Party when they came to see me that I would release what we have, which is a 6-month investigation so far, end of February. I didn't want to do it February 28th. That's when we had the presidential debates here. It would be too obvious that maybe this is political. I'm trying to stay out of the political arena on this and do my job in investigating possible crimes. The last I heard, forgery and fraud happens to be a crime. I don't care who commits that crime. It's incumbent that we investigate it. It happens. I'm not accusing the president of any violation. I'm just trying to find out who committed forgery and fraud. That's all.
A lot of people are wondering what your jurisdiction is to go after this, being a sheriff of one county in Arizona. Do you really have the power to move forward with a criminal investigation and actually hope for prosecution?
Well, let me put it this way. I have lawyers in the cold case posse. I haven't gone to any elected officials because I don't want to put them in a box because they probably feel very uneasy. So I'm the Lone Ranger on this. But when you look at the birth certificate, what I hear is when you go public over the Internet, that affects the whole country. And I'm sure when I'm talking to my own county, Maricopa County, we do have U.S. citizens that live here. We got a lot of illegals living here that are not U.S. citizens. That's why I keep enforcing those laws and take a lot of heat on that. But no, we have standing because that went over the airways. It affects everyone in this country, including Maricopa County.
With regard to Andrew Breitbart, a lot of people are obviously throwing out the idea that because of these videos he's releasing, or his people are releasing, that he had planned to release, that there might be something suspicious about his untimely death. From your standpoint as a law enforcement official, do you think it's something that should be investigated?
Well, I go back to Watergate. I wasn't involved, but I knew all the characters that were involved. Dick Kleindienst, former Attorney General, we were very close when I was Regional Director. G. Gordon Liddy, he and I ran an operation on a Nixon intercept, closing, cracking down on the U.S.-Mexican border. So I knew a lot about the Watergate. As I say, I think this situation is probably 10 times worse than Watergate if we ever get to the bottom of it. So, being a law enforcement guy for 50 years, I'm always suspicious sometimes of many things. And there have been some deaths, I believe, connected with Watergate way back. There's always conspiracy theories. But doesn't law enforcement work on conspiracies? Isn't that one way we hook people on conspiracies? So what's wrong with, say, there could be a conspiracy? Why do we get criticized, or I get criticized saying, oh, everything's a conspiracy? I think that's good law enforcement to look at every angle, see who's involved, who the co-conspirators are. So I don't understand. It's just another way to try to say this is all garbage, there's nothing to this, conspiracy theories. So as far as the death, I don't know. There's always timing sometimes seems to be interesting, too. When you look at timing, there's certain situations that occur. Is that wrong to think about? Maybe something could have happened? I don't know.
Well, Sheriff Joe, you have to understand there's a double standard when Hillary Clinton said that the Monica Lewinsky thing was a lie made up by a vast right-wing conspiracy. Conspiracies were okay with the media. When all the liberals came out and said that 9/11 was an inside inside job by Bush and Cheney, it was okay to have a conspiracy theory. It's only whenever a conservative or a Republican looks at the possibility of a conspiracy that the liberal media and liberals in general seem to have a problem with it. When they're the ones pushing the conspiracy theory, it's apparently perfectly okay.
In Dr. Corsi, he's a reporter or a journalist, investigative journalist. I think people forgot who really started the Watergate. Wasn't that two journalists that looked into the Watergate? So sometimes journalists do come up with the goods, and then after, of course, once it hits the airwaves and people are interested, then the major media will pick it up. What about the National Enquirer? Everybody makes fun at the Globe and the National Enquirer. Didn't they break the Edwards story? So I think we ought to give some consideration to journalists and news people when they come up with some information.
Absolutely. Well, Sheriff Joe, I just want to say that the small part I had in this, working with Mike Zullo to narrate those videos and to participate in putting those videos together, was an absolute honor. It was, again, I mean, I just couldn't imagine a bigger honor than working with this cold case posse, albeit in somewhat of a tangential way. But I just want to say, if you guys ever need my help again, you know where to call. I'd be honored to work with you again.
And you're very important to keep spreading the message, since the major media will not.
Well, they're not going to do that anytime soon. They're going to have to be forced to do it. And I don't know what it would take. I've long suspected, Sheriff Joe, that if Barack Obama called a press conference tomorrow and said, it's true, I wasn't born in America, my selective service card was doctored, my birth certificate was doctored, within an hour the mainstream media would be saying, well, what Barack Obama meant to say was, and, well, he's just so smart, people couldn't tell he was being sarcastic. And so I don't think Obama himself could confess to it and have the mainstream media cover the story in anything other but a way that would be positive for him. So
you know what I like to see him do? Put this to rest. Day one, when I took this, I said, I want to see his microfilm. Show the microfilm, and then we're all done with this. He was born there. Why does he come out now to the whole world say, here's my microfilm, I am a U.S. citizen? And we'll all be happy, won't we? That's all.
Well, my understanding is the White House is critical of your investigation because you didn't seek documents from them or the Department of Health in Hawaii. What are the odds of them turning anything over? I would call them up and say, you wanted me to call? Hey, I'm calling. What do you want to turn over?
Well, I'm not done yet. I'm going to pursue that selected service. So we'll see what happens. I'm not done yet on this one. You're right. I want more information.
Very good. Sheriff Joe, thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Tea Party Power Hour with Mark Galar.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.